If you're a beginner struggling for back control and retention, one thing that's very important is to understand terminology and concepts of how to hold somebody on the back and really what you need to be doing when you take somebody's back. In this video, we're going to cover just that, the very basics, what we need to be doing with our feet, what we need to be doing with our hands, and why we do them. My name's Nathan Haddad. I'm a black belt under Helio Seneca. Today I'm going to show you guys some tips on holding, retaining, and finally submitting somebody when we've taken their back. The first thing that I want to look at is going to be how we control from the back and what we're looking to do. First is going to be my feet, okay? And we play this game when we control somebody's back where we put hooks in or a body triangle. And the idea behind hooks is to keep Max from making a strong turn either way. If I have my hooks seated properly, I use my feet like I have spikes in my feet here, and I'm going to pull everything tight to me. What this does is keep Max from turning side to side to his knees. I'm basically connected my hips to him. But there's still a ton of rotation Max can have with his upper body. So now we start to play this game of how we control with the upper body. If I have double underhooks like this and I connect my hands, now I have pretty good control of Max. And although this might be the best control to keep Max from really turning out, I don't have any submission threats from here. From here, I can really just hold Max. And the problem becomes if Max doesn't feel like there's any threat of submission, eventually he's going to start to take some big risks. And then it actually might not be as good a control as I think. So double unders is good to hold, but not great to submit. If I have two hands over, well, now I have two hands that could attack the neck, and so I could have a lot of good submission threats, but I have no control over Max's rotation. And so Max can start to get his head on the floor and escape the back. This is generally why I like to look for a seatbelt grip. What my seatbelt grip allows me to do is have one arm that's a strangle hand and one arm that's an underhook. And so from here, I control Max's rotation while simultaneously having threat of Max's neck. Okay? So in this case, if my right arm's over his shoulder, my right arm would be my strangle hand. If my left arm was over his shoulder, my left arm would be my strangle hand, and then thus my right arm would be my underhook hand, making this seatbelt. Whenever I connect a seatbelt, I like to grab my forearm as opposed to having finger grip or even palm-to-palm grip. You can see all the space here between Max and I. I want to grab on my forearm here and make a fist with my right hand and finally pull this tight, almost like I'm going to stab Max with my hand here. I get nice and tight, my ear over his ear, and now we're in a good position to control this guy. When we have a seatbelt grip, in traditional jiu-jitsu, we talk about a strong side and a weak side. And to be honest with you guys, that's mostly semantics. In fact, I prefer to attack from the quote-unquote weak side. I think there's better attacks and better traps from there. Some guys prefer the strong side. We'll explain both. My strong side seatbelt looks like this. When I fall here and my strangle hand is pointed up to the sky. And the reason we call this a strong side is because Max is falling into my choke. So if I made a rear naked choke from here, my choke is here. Again, he's falling in to the choke. If we were on the other side with the exact same seatbelt, you'll notice my strangle hand is pointed down. And so now if I did the same rear naked choke, Max is falling out of the choke, okay? This basically just moves us into where my head needs to be. And that's what will really separate the strong side and the weak side. The easiest concept you can remember here is my strangle hand and my head are on opposite sides always. So if my right arm is my strangle hand, my head is on Max's left shoulder. If my left arm is my strangle hand, my head is on Max's right shoulder. So for example, going back to our strong side, if I was to choke Max from this position, my head would be on top because my right arm is my strangle hand. So now when I choke, my head's here. If we were on the weak side and I was looking to choke Max from the weak side, my head can't be here because now he's falling out of the choke. My head would have to be underneath Max's head. Again, on the opposite side of my strangle hand. Now my hand could come in and I could start to look to choke, again, having my head in the right position. So this is the control that we look to have when we're trying to play on the back. We want to have hooks or a body triangle, and then we need a seatbelt grip if we want to have threat of submission and control. Guys, if you want to see the full video I did on everything you need to know with back attacks, control, retention, and submissions, you can click right here. If you want our free membership, no credit card required, a bunch of different videos, you can click right here on Max's face.